Broke up with him. It was too much. He was too great. We dated for 3 months. He was not a pushover. He had friends. He was cool. He was perfect. And he took me places and spent money on me. And he had a car and he had a bank account and he had health insurance. And I broke up with him. I went back to my ex who got me a $15 gift card to Taco Bell for my birthday.
That was a bad decision.
And this is how men become dogs. Now you seeing it right here. You creating a supervillain. He's been spending his whole time being a good option for you while you chose to go back to the ex that treats you like shit. You legitimately cannot make this shit up.
Mgtow is a global social phenomenon, an online community of men who have chosen to avoid legal and romantic entanglements with women at all costs. A man who goes his own way prioritizes self-ownership above all else, believing that he and only he has the authority to determine what his life goals should be. He refuses to submit his will to the social expectations of women and society, believing that both have turned hostile toward him. Some Mgtows pledge to cut off the masculine supply and raise awareness about the millions of girls who use men and disrespect our natural role. Most Mgtows will tell you it's more of a philosophy than a movement, punctuated by a generous helping of 0s. Mgtow men are unapologetically selfish, and unlike men's rights activists, they aren't looking to change the status quo, but rather to avoid marriage, fatherhood, cohabitation, and everything else society expects of them. Men's rights activists dislike us because, while we agree with them on some issues, we will not be their cannon fodder in a war we know they will lose. Pickup artists despise us because they can't profit from us. Feminists despise us because we won't fight them, and women despise us because we won't give them what they want. The first thing you see when you arrive at this site is a man walking away by going our own way. We're saying that because we don't subscribe to any single set of beliefs or behaviors. An accurate interview would require interviewing 16,000 of us. One Mgtow may want to build a cabin in the woods and live off the grid, while another may want to move to Thailand with 9 girlfriends and 20 children, but no wife. Another may choose surrogacy and be a father but not a husband, and yet another may blend into urban life like everyone else and simply refuse a marriage contract or cohabitation. The policy of disorganized resistance, a phenomenon in which independent groups or people come to the same conclusions and actions against others based on shared philosophies, is one of the things that makes Mgtow uniquely positioned for massive growth. This isn't the only way Mgtows are difficult to pin down. Mgtows are actually rebelling against 2 different things. 1. A society that they believe favors women over men in almost all institutions. And 2. Bad guys like pickup artists and ladies' men who portray excess masculinity. Almost all of Mgtow's complaints are related in some way to what they perceive to be a systematic gynocentric bias against men. They specifically mention feminist double standards and false accusations that have long-term consequences for the victim. Despite all of the rhetoric about equal rights for men and women, the gynocentric bias of the family court system is demonstrated by raw data available everywhere. I used to believe that feminism fought for equal opportunity for both genders, but in today's culture, it means female privilege. I believe that discrimination against men is every bit as bad as discrimination against women, and that men are now in need of justice and attention. A survey commissioned by the Minnesota Supreme Court found that 56% of the state's judges, both male and female, agreed with the statement. I believe young children belong with their mother. 94% of men and 84% of women believe that all judges were biased against fathers, at least some of the time. When concerns about unfair favoritism like this are perceived to be falling on deaf ears, people tune out and begin to do their own thing. Many blame gender bias in family courts for the fact that men are 8 times more likely than women to commit suicide after a divorce. When women successfully integrate into a masculine domain, their growing presence turns some men off. In some ways, we can see relationships as something that women are increasingly empowered to shape. Mgtow could be an example of men deciding that this has become too feminized and that they will abandon it. We've seen similar trends in the workplace, where men leave jobs as women enter them. For example, until a registered nurse named Ellen Church was hired by United Airlines in 1930, all flight attendants were men. Other airlines quickly followed suit, and by 1936, women had almost completely taken over the role. Some have observed an irony in the fact that Mgtow methodology is similar to what feminists have been doing for 50 years, with the Mgtow aversion to interacting with women serving as a less pleasant parallel to radical feminism. Don't forget to hit the like button to help spread the word about this video. Thank you for taking your daily dose of red pills, and remember that a red pill a day keeps bad poker hands away. So have a good rest of your day and cheers.